Well, welcome back everyone to DBS Midwest. I got another little deck for you. It took me a while to release another video because I was wanting to get some the new set cards in. So first leader we're going to go over is Bulma. Bulma's just it's 5K on front, 10K on back. It allows all your red and yellow Saiyan or Earthlings to gain blocker. Also, it basically on the front side you can activate main, draw a card, and when it awakens it restands 2 energy. On the back side it does the exact same thing except for its activate main is draw 2 instead of 1, so this card just nets you a lot of card advantage. This deck I basically call Bulma Stall to Victory. The first deck I wanted to go over was for people that may not got tons of set 8. It still has a lot of the new set cards, but it's not all the new set strategy. So people who have bought a lot of cards in the past but do not have a lot of these cards yet can probably build this deck for fairly cheap, except for one card, but you can always substitute that one individual card out for another. So first off, we're going to go against our little stall engine. First card is Master Roshi, Forged of Will. Basically, it's a counterattack, so it negates an attack, then it comes down, and with Bulma, it becomes a blocker. And it also has 5K combo, which might be relevant for one of the arrival cards we have. So, getting more into the stall package, Raditz. This kind of helps against your opponent abusing restanding energy. It also draws you a card when it comes to play. So a lot of these cards are going to draw you cards because we're wanting to see certain cards in our deck to push for game at the very end. And it will also gain blocker. Youthful Bulma is just basic. 1 drop, draws you a card when it comes to play. Has yellow combo power. And then also it becomes blocker as well. And it's a Bulma. So we're going to get into a little of our Bulma engine. There's not much of our Bulma engine. The other one is Explorer Bulma. The reason why this is in there is because 1, it's a Bulma. It gains blocker as well. But 2, it allows you to see more cards. This deck is basically going to dig a lot for its win con. So this is another way. Another Bulma is your super combo. Now, you're rarely going to play this on the field, but you might every once in a while to trigger it and get a blocker to bring out another card. But generally going to use it for its super combo value, but we put the Bulma in there just in case you have to use it for that situation, which might arise. So there's the Bulma. This is it. So basically what this card does, it's red and yellow, so it's a good early charge. It's also a double strike, so it's a 20k double strike for strong. And if your opponent removes one of your Bulmas from the battle area, basically you get to play this for free. So they move with a skill or Bulma's KO'd. Basically this comes out for free, and then you get a free 20k double striker. So it's pretty strong. And it's also good at early energy charge. The other card we run is this. And that Vegeta I just showed will also have blocker. Almost everything in here has blocker. There's a couple cards that don't. You got King Vegeta and Prince Vegeta Royal Bloodline at a 3 of. I'm going to Rivals for a yellow. This is the rival card I'm talking about. And basically, a lot of times you're going to want to do this on your opponent's turn. Play it defensively because what it does, it allows you to KO a card with energy cost 3 or less. And you also get to draw a card, and then once it's in play, it's also a blocker. It's a 20k blocker. So it comes in for 1 yellow on arrival, pops a card, draws a card, and then you have another blocker to keep stalling. This will not be a blocker, but I have 3 of these. I'm going to get 1 more, so that this card right here is 1 more of these. This is basically your check land. What it does, if you put another multicolor card into play turn 1, this can come into play in active mode. So either you can play one of these and the second one comes into active mode, you can play one of these first turn, comes into play rest, then this one comes into active mode, or that 5-drop Vegeta I showed you. So now we'll get to the next card. Try to make it somewhat quick because I'm on my way to You got to get ready to go to work, actually. Birthday party. The reason why we're playing this is just because it's Bulma, and it has allows you to see more cards. So if you have basically a red and yellow multicolor card in your energy, which altogether we play 8, 11, so you should be able to see one turn one and play it. You can play this for free. And basically what it does, it has the auto. If your leader card is red Bulma, which it is, at the end of your turn, you draw 2 cards and two cards in your hand and put them in your drop. So just letting you dig more. Next up is we run a couple counterplays. Chompa the Trickster, just because it's one of the best counterplays in the game, besides Cold Bloodlust and the UI Goku. But basically it allows you to counterplay. You can put a card in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and then you get to draw a card. So it allows you to dig. But this will not be a blocker because it's not an Earthling or a Saiyan. Another counterplay, which this is a counterplay, and since your leader is red, you can actually do it for 3 instead of 5, which is really good. And it basically it gives all your opponent's battle cards a negative 20,000 power for the duration of the turn. So this card can really neg your opponent. If they play a board too wide, you can just get rid of it. And if you play it on your opponent's turn, it gives your leader card additional 5,000, which makes it harder to attack. Sometimes Bulma might need that 5,000. It also is a blocker. The other thing is people don't pay attention to a lot. You do not have to use this as a counterplay. You can do it on your turn and just play 3 and play it out and wipe their board and then have your blocker. Since we're in red, and he will not be a blocker, but he's just way too good not to run. We have Topo. He is a really good negate, because basically he comes out and negates an attack, and if when you discard a card when you play him, then your opponent, basically, if they want to attack further, they have to put 2 cards in their hand from their drop to attack more. So a lot of times he can shut down a turn just on his own. I always run some type of Self-Awakening. Since this card draws a lot, I'm hoping to see one of these two. You don't always have to, but this is the only Self-Awakeners I run. So the fact that he's a Saiyan is good because you can do that, restand. Like, you can swing with him, take up to 1 or 2 life to give him a 5k for the duration of the turn, and then he restands. He can swing again, or you can just keep him up for defense to be a blocker. So he's really good in this deck because he can swing twice for a lot or just be a blocker. Now, in testing against some other Bulma decks, I run a lot of set of 8 cards. I ran into like these long drawn out matches, which probably would go to time. And against Hachiok, I ran some matches going against time. So I think the best way to stop that and to kind of get an edge in it is, well, first off, you run the Vegeta that can wipe the board against the mirror. That doesn't do much against Hachiok, but I'll show you. So we're running this at 3, so you know we're going to swap. So the deck is very yellow heavy. It runs a few red cards, but really not many if you go through and see the total count. So what you want to do is just charge a lot of yellow energy in the beginning of the game. Basically, you bring this guy out. What he does is he taps down an opponent's battle cards and switches to rest mode, and then you get to draw a card. So it allows you to see more cards. Now, the main target he's going to switch into is this. This is good if your opponent's putting out tons of blockers, because you can tap 4 of them down. Or, sorry, not 4, but 3 of them down. And it's good against Hachiok because it is triple strike dual attack. And it has the magic cost of 8. So, against Hachiok, you can swing with one of your lesser cards. Not one of your lesser cards, but you can swing with this basically as many times as you want. Well, not as many times, but, twice. But because it's an 8-drop, because basically Hachiok says it's anything above 7 is not affected by the Nimbus effect. So you can swing with the lesser card, then swing with this twice. And it's just a good card. Against Hachiok, you can tap down their energy. Against the Bulma Mirror, you can tap down a lot of their blockers and swing in. And then, of course, if we're running that, I am running 1 Victory Strike. This is the card that can come out. You can substitute it for another Chompa the Trickster, or just pretty much you can have fun with it and substitute for whatever you want. But if I am running this, since I own this, I'm going to run this. And basically what this does is this allows you to basically win the game on the spot. So that's why it's called Bulma Stall to Victory. And then what I run is 2 of these. So on the turn you're going to go into this, you're going to want to have one of these to back it up. Because if you have one of these to back it up, this is your battering laser. It can basically force through the victory strike, or even if you go into this turn, if you can awaken that turn and peel back enough energy to also back the Height of Mastery with this, then you should do pretty well and take some games. So that's why I said this deck doesn't have a lot of the new cards. I will do some more decks later with Bulma. I got a Bulma Apes deck that's really fun to play that I'm going to do. And I also have another Bulma deck that has a lot more of the new cards. But between this one, the Bulma Apes deck, I want to show 2 decks you can play with not much of the new set that should still be viable and somewhat competitive. I do like this Bulma Victory Strike deck, or HOM deck, whatever you want to call it, because sometimes Bulma has trouble closing out games. And if I just think still these are some of the best finishers in the game. It's also really good if people are playing the Hachiak deck in your area, which that deck I think is growing in popularity and people will play. So if you want a finisher against that deck, these are pretty good against it. I guess altogether that's all I have on this deck. I will be doing more decks in the future on set 8. On the new set, several of them. But I'm going to go over a couple of Bulma decks at first, or I might sprinkle a couple other decks in there here and there. But that's pretty much all I got for you. Once again, thanks.